We've done several reports on staffing issues at Kentucky jails, but there are some counties that have jail employees and no physical jail. Tina asks, why do we have county jailers for counties that don't even have jails? Here's our Victor Puente with the answer to that good question.
Kentucky is the only state in the country where the local jails are ran by jailers. In most states, the sheriff is in charge of jails. The position of jailer is written into our Constitution, even those counties that have closed their jails. This graphic from the Department of Corrections shows 43 counties have closed their jails. They are shown in light blue. Just because they don't have jails doesn't mean they don't have inmates. Someone still has to get them to court or transfer them to the facilities where they are housed in other counties. Depending on the size of the county, that position might be full-time or part-time. State law says the minimum they can be paid is $20,000 per year. In 2015, the Kentucky Center for Investigative Reporting published an article showing some jailers in counties with no jails were getting paid but didn't do much. That led to a law in 2017 that required local fiscal courts to outline the jailer's role and for those jailers to report their duties, including any prisoners they transported. Now, state law does allow the role of jailer to be folded into the sheriff's office in counties that have a consolidated government. Fayette and Jefferson counties are the only counties to have done this. If you have a good question, just email us, goodquestion@wkyt.com. I'll see you on WKYT Mornings.